Do you happen to remember Gateway computers? Or rather, do you remember these Holstein cow-spotted boxes their computers came in? Gateway computers often feels like the forgotten child of the PC boom during the 80s and the 90s. But this particular packaging strategy has always been the most recallable piece of its history, which can only be summarized by skyrocketing success to struggling relevancy in just over a little span of a decade. Gateway was the brainchild of two men, Mike Hammond and Ted Waite, the latter being the son of multiple generations of Iowa cattle farmers, when they both worked in sales for Texas Instruments before together founding TIP 1985 on the second floor of Ted's father's cattle brokerage in Sioux City, Iowa. Mike and Ted both dreamed of building and selling their own computers, but the duo's first year's revenue was mainly generated by selling mail-order hardware and software parts via catalog for what Mike and Ted already knew best, outdated Texas Instrument computers. The move proved to be the right decision though, as Texas Instruments had ended support for customers with older computers, leaving an opening for TIPC to make quick revenue from a left-behind customer base. Plus, being on the mail-order catalog model also allowed them to keep costs extremely low, and within only 4 months, the company had generated $100,000. By 1986, revenues hit $1 million, and TIPC began to dip their toes into constructing their own PCs and selling them locally. Gateway 2000's philosophy was simple: aim for quality above most low-end computers, but shoot for more price efficiency than most expensive computers that had more power and add-ons unneeded by the common man PC owner. It was a philosophy that played perfectly into their marketing strategy crafted in 1988, most notably in their Computers from Iowa ads that featured the Waite family cattle herd that helped paint Gateway 2000 as a blue-collar working-class company with wholesome Midwestern values that everyday regular people understood. By this point, Gateway had moved their headquarters from Ted's father's cattle brokerage office into a 5,000 square foot office in the Livestock Exchange building in downtown Sioux City. So as you can see so far, the cow-themed Gateway was a legitimate reflection of the company beyond their advertising strategies alone. Revenues continued to escalate at an astronomical rate, with $70 million in 1989 to $275 million in 1990, and then $625 million in 1991, which became the first year of the now famous cow-spotted boxes, and also saw the construction of a new manufacturing plant referred internally as a Big Ugly Building in North Sioux City, South Dakota. 1992 would be the year Gateway broke $1 billion in revenue and see itself the largest mail-order computer company in the world. But it's also seen as the peak and turning point for the business. The exponential growth was becoming as much a curse as a blessing in a lot of regards, primarily because of the company's inability to keep up with its fast expansion with increasing competition. It was around this time that Gateway started to become known for their below-average customer support, while new executives were brought in to help navigate Gateway's entry into corporate sales and help mitigate their growing list of issues. Over the next several years, Gateway would go public, expand into Europe, and develop a line of unflattering non-computer products. Their growth continued, though at a much slower pace, while their reputation for bad customer support only became more prominent. In 1996, the first Gateway country stores were opened that allowed customers to try their products before buying. Long before Apple stores came around, these stores proved a successful model for customers wanting to try before you buy, while further cultivating their brand of community camaraderie that only an in-person country store could provide. In 1997, Gateway was on the verge of being bought by Compaq for $7 billion, which would come back to haunt them later, but Ted Waite pulled out of the sale at the 11th hour. Former executive for AT&T, Jeffrey Weitzen, would later be brought in to be president and COO, but it would be under his regime that Gateway would lose all of its Midwestern charm, with Weitzen dropping the 2000 from the name to just Gateway Inc. He'd go on to move the company headquarters to San Diego and strip away all of the cow patterns and local flavor that Gateway 2000's entire image had been built upon. Ted would initially step down as CEO in 1999, and from there things would only get worse. Gateway continued to release a dull line of new products while also trying to launch their own internet provider service, Gateway.net. It's always fun to look back at internet prices from long ago. For a whopping $19.95, you could have 150 hours per month of internet access, with every additional hour costing $1.50. But compared to AOL's unlimited access for $21.95, the ISP stood no chance and was later sold to AOL. The next several years saw increasing net losses, mass layoffs, the closing of domestic factories and all country stores. All manufacturing was outsourced, and there were several cases of fraud involving Whiteson and 2 other higher-ups. After only 13 months in charge, Whiteson was out and Ted Waite was back in. After a last-gasp effort to get back to basics and receiving a small boost by way of the purchase of E-Machines in 2003, Gateway would later be sold in 2007 to Acer for only $710 million, a far cry from the $7 billion Compaq was offering a decade ago. There are several theories to what really played in Gateway's failure as a company. The dot-com bubble burst surely didn't help their longevity, but Ted Waite places blame squarely on the San Diego executives for not embracing the Gateway culture, though that can also be considered a contributing factor to their downfall. Gateway's grassroots image was primarily focused on retail sales and the individual consumer, while other companies like Dell and HP focused on selling to bigger entities such as schools, workplaces, and research institutions. In an ever-growing mass-market world, Gateway remained too faithfully narrow in who they sold to, as Michael Dell was quoted saying, "The consumer was always part of our business, but never a very large part. Gateway, they opened stores, but they didn't really develop the business." For how much success Gateway found remaining local in their early developmental years, it seems only fitting they'd struggle as they grew on the global scale. Even their name, Gateway 2000, it's sort of a dated relic that used to evoke feelings of an exciting future ahead, while their cow patterns simultaneously kept the identity of a humble farmer. But their approach seemed always destined to lose its luster with the inevitable turn of the century. Give me a hand with the housekeeping. Please like the video, subscribe for more deep dives into navigating the history of nostalgic products. Let me know all of your favorite Gateway memories or nightmares with their customer support, and any other forgotten PC products of the past as well. Don't litter, and I'll see ya.